Okay, Jean-Jacques. We have a saying in English, you couldn't make this stuff up. I mean, it's just like a comedy. In the first half of the film, it's like a comedy of errors. There's all these kind of mishaps and accidents. And so I guess my first question is that all true?
Unfortunately, yes. And the more not credible it is, the more true it is. All the adventure with the guy with the key is minute after minute exactly what happened. And all the problems with traffic jam, with the fact that the firemen in Paris were warned that there was a fire in Notre-Dame was from a friend that was vacationing in Firenze, in Florence, in Italy, etc., etc. The number of mishaps and problems was so incredible that I know that I would not have dared inventing those things if they were not absolutely true, including the fact that, the first truck that went to try to rescue the situation, you had 4 young people, all of them below 25, and 2 of them experiencing their first fire for real. They've been trained as firemen, but that was their first fire, and 2 of them being women, and absolutely women that could be models or could be star of an American movie. That was a reality, while there is only 4% of women in the fire brigade in Paris. But this is the way it was. So all those elements were like written by a crazy, experienced screenplay writer in Hollywood. So this is why it was so appealing, because there was all the ingredients of what I considered when I read all the documents and met most of the people you've seen on screen. 98% of the people you've seen on screen, I have interviewed the real people. What you have seen is played by actors. Only 3 people are not actors. The guy who does the drawings, because it's very rare to have someone so competent to do those drawings. The organist also was the real guy that was in Notre-Dame that night. And another fireman who had a minor role. But yes, and what I was saying at dinner is that I've learned since I started the movie so many details that was so extravagant that I had to ask people to repeat what they were telling me. But this is how catastrophe happened, If everything was well planned, if every guy was competent, if there was the proper money to sustain the buildings in good condition, catastrophe would not happen. I don't know if you read The Guardian 2 days ago, but there was those pictures of Westminster, who was facing a serious problem, and the title was, "Is Westminster the next Notre-Dame?" I insist on The Guardian, because we have so many of those monuments that we have not enough money to keep them all in perfect condition. And since this event, not only in France, but almost everywhere in Europe, people are reviewing the procedures. They are changing their alarm system. It is, fortunately, a lesson for a lot of monuments around Europe.
Were you able to film at all in Notre-Dame?
Yes. Yes, I got permission to shoot in Notre-Dame. I did shoot some of the gargoyles during the day. There are a few shots of the gargoyles that was shot in Notre-Dame. We had to wear the lead costume, meaning that we had to take a shower, be entirely naked, put our clothes in a special room, get other clothes. When we were finished, we had to burn the clothes we were wearing because it was very dangerous, full of lead, very toxic. I shot for 3 days. I shot also, when you see the first guard going up to the sacristy. That's real Notre-Dame sacristy. And some of the corridors were also with no scaffolding inside. Therefore, I could shoot in real Notre-Dame. What you see of real Notre-Dame are some archives. There was a program because it was Easter Monday. Therefore, it was an important service, and it was filmed by a TV company. Therefore, very professional. And I used some of those images of real Notre-Dame minutes before the fire, which allows me to establish Notre-Dame. And after that, I jumped from one cathedral to another. It was very interesting technically to mix those different cathedrals. The first Gothic cathedral was built in Sens 30 years before Notre-Dame. And when Paris became more important than Sens, the population in Paris wanted the same cathedral than in Sens, but larger. And this is why I could shoot all the shots from above in Sens, because there is the same the ground that we have in Paris. But the reverse, when I was shooting from below, I had to shoot in a cathedral that was built copying Notre-Dame in Bourges. The reason is in Paris we have 5 naves. And in Sens, the early cathedral, there was only 3 naves. So I went to Bourges, and it was quite amusing to have the same group of actors playing the same way with the same costume, high angle 1 week, and 3 weeks later in Bourges, the low angles, and also matching with shots that I shot in a set, because I had to rebuild the interior of the cathedral on a big set in Paris.
Could you talk a little bit more about that? Because that must have been quite some undertaking. I mean, on the credits, there are so many craftspeople of all different kinds who are mentioned.
Well, you know, this is the beauty of my job, and I love this job for many reasons, but also the fact that you can dream of something and ask a production designer to ask 200 people of high professional competence to redo Notre-Dame on a backlot in Saint-Denis or in Brie-sur-Marne. So, of course, you know, we spent a lot of time and money to rebuild all the places that you saw on fire, all the places with a lot of water. I couldn't ruin another cathedral to shoot the movie the way I wanted. Therefore, all of that has been rebuilt, especially when you see when the spire is falling on the nave, and when the vault is open by this mini catastrophe. That has been shot in a set where I had twice eight columns, and all the chairs we had to make them by the same people that made the chairs in Notre-Dame have live special effect. I insist on live special effect, not digital. When you see all those elements falling, we had 75 cubic meters of debris and timbers falling from the ceiling, all on fire. We had only 1 minute and 10 seconds of oxygen to shoot the scene. We had to run away from the studio. We were all disguised in like cosmonauts with respiratory masks and oxygen bottles because there was no oxygen anymore on the set. And it would take about a day to cool it down because, you know, the flames were 800 centigrades and 30 meters high. So it was real fire. This is why it feels real, because it was real. Real and fake, because it's a studio. It's real cinema, but real flames. And this is why also the actors could express the fear and the excitement to be close to the fire. You know, those young actors that were playing the firemen were 1.5 meters from flames that were at 850 degrees. So you don't act the same way if there are real flames, or if it's a blue screen and you're pretending that that blue screen is a fire and that you're hot. It's different. Here, you know, it was a very impressive shoot, by the way. But because it was dangerous and impressive, it went very, very well. I'm very proud that we were early and we were under budget, although it was a big budget.
And I think, for me personally, part of the reason why the film is so vivid is the work that you've done on the audio, because obviously when the fire happened, I saw images on the news, but you don't hear that stuff. And you particularly don't really hear what's actually going on inside that building as well. Could you talk a little bit about that work that you did on the audio and what that entailed?
Well, yes, thank you for the question, because, by the way, I'm extremely pleased because I just received a review of the DVD that we're going to sell in France in a few weeks, and we have the top mark. We have 10 out of 10 for the audio, and the rest of it, by the way, but you know, I started with the audio in May and ended up working every day from May to February, because when I was mentioning the timbers, the burning timbers falling from the ceiling, because the ceiling could not support oak, we used balsa. But then, the first time I heard the footsteps, the dubbing sounds, I realized that they were using not the proper wood. It was not oak, it was probably some pine trees. And I sent my unit back to a depot of real oak timbers somewhere in Normandy. We rented a crane and had those huge timbers falling on and cracking either on the ground or on the chairs, because you don't find those sounds in internet. You know, most of the movies today, the soundtrack, if you have a clock or an old clock going clunk, 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 you type clock, old clock, on internet, you have a sound. This is what your sound editor is going to use. And you have all the same sound for all the clocks of all the movies from China, India, and New Zealand. Here, it was all homemade. For instance, you know, we spent about 3 weeks, first with my composer, Simon Franklin, a very talented Englishman. We went back to the Cathedral of Sens, where they have the oldest bells in France. They weigh 16 tons. And we went way after the shoot. Simon spent about 3 weeks with me at my country place. And we went back to Sens with little metal balls that you use in Roulemabi. I don't know the name in English, what you put in...
Ball bearings, maybe?
Anyone knows Roulemabi in English?
Ball bearings?
Those, you know, little...
ball bearings. Yeah, I think it's ball bearings, yeah?
Anyway, well, we you know, it was very amusing. We went all the way at the top of the cathedral, and we warned the people in Sens. We said, don't worry, we're going to hit the bells with little mallets and things. And we spent the whole day banging those enormous bells in order to get what I wanted at the end, when you have the bells resonating the same in the same tonality than Amazing Grace that was chanted by the people along the River Seine. It was a very complicated thing, and I had really on the sound the best people that we have in Europe. usually I do my sound in England. This time I did the music at Abbey Road. I went twice. I recorded first the choir, a very wonderful choir from England called Tenebrae, a choir that was very used in classical liturgic music, and very good at French, by the way. They also sang the French word with no accent. I was amazed. And I came back later because we couldn't hire rent the studio. We used Abbey Road all the time. And we came back three weeks later to record with a large orchestra. We had 80 instruments. And we recorded for 5 days. And that, my composer stayed with me for, as I said, several weeks in my country place. And after that, every week he would send me tapes. He's a genius with computers. So he would send me, for my approval, his ideas. And we would communicate all the time, and I would ask modification, or he himself would offer other things. And it delivered everything in December. Every week I had a cue, and only in December I had the whole film. But then we had to record, and we recorded in January and February. And then we had to mix it down with all the different sounds. So it took another 4 weeks for the final mix. You know, post-production is something that public is absolutely unaware of. But I spend more time in post-production than in production. You know, shooting, it's a few weeks, 8, 9 weeks. Post-production is 8 to 10 months. Different. And pre-production is also much longer. I like to spend a lot of time in pre-production devising every single shot. And this is why the shoot can go very smoothly, because everything is prepared, everything is described. I go with my units, different units, in the different cathedral. I show the angles. So my electrical department, my camera operators, they know where the cameras are going to be. They understand at what time we're going to shoot, where the sun is going to be. I mean, huge preparation. And that makes the shooting time extremely smooth and easy and fun.
Let's take some questions from the audience. I'm sure people are absolutely dying to. Yes, there's first one there. Yep. Oh, yeah, there is a mic coming. Sorry, should have said, yeah. There we go.
Congratulations. It's a great film, and I think you really do capture Grace at the end there, so beautiful. With the fire sequence, particularly the ending, I couldn't help but think a little bit of the fire in the labyrinth in Name of the Rose. Was that in your mind at all, or any similarities?
Well, not really. Each movie is a new experience, but after so many years of, I started directing, being a director. I got my first check as a director I was 19 and a half. So this is the thing I've been doing every day of my life. And quite often, after shooting a scene, I'm saying, but I've done that scene before. The difference is, when I shot The Name of the Rose, I displayed 7 cameras. This time I displayed 11. But after shooting the scene, or should I take it a little before, I had this huge construction in Cinecittà in Rome, all in wood. We had to build a studio around our set because the set was so huge. And I had put seven cameras, so when all the cameras are ready, I'm asking, as always, I say, okay, we're ready to roll, so please turn the cameras on. So I ask, camera A, sì signore, giriamo. Camera 2, sì signore, giriamo. Camera 3, silence. Camera 3, signore, it's very dangerous, because there are bottles of gas, so we didn't turn the camera 3 on. I'm saying, so who is going to do that? Nobody. So I run, and I turn the camera on. Camera 4, Signor Geriamo. Okay. And on to the 7. Now, turn on the fire. The whole, my set is going to be destroyed. It's spectacular. It's huge. And then I'm thrilled. Then we wrap, and I walk by the camera truck, and I hear people saying, who is going to tell him? So I get in the car, I say, telling me what? Signore, è troppo pericoloso. It's too dangerous. And as a matter of fact, we didn't turn camera 4, camera 5, camera 6, and camera 7. So I had, the film you've seen, Name of the Rose, was made with only 3 cameras instead of 7. And I had to flip a number of shots and squeeze them to have multiple camera effect. The difference with what I shot this time is all the 11 cameras gave me great shots. And they gave me great shots because we also manufactured 3 cameras in special boxes that would resist to very, very high temperature for several days. Because, you know, I had cameras looking up and all the timbers fell on it. And we could not retrieve the camera before, we had to wait like 3 days until all this huge fire was off. And our system worked. What we did, we were pushing fresh air, cold air, inside a box where the camera were. And we retrieved everything impeccable. So it was one take, several cameras, and the shot was achieved in 1 minute, 10 seconds.
Yes,
I found that I found that a wonderfully suspenseful and tense experience. And I wondered if you could talk about how you refined and improved and heightened the suspense during the film.
Well, you know, basically it's a writing process. When I write, obviously I see the movie. What I write is what I wish the audience to see, even in the tempo of it. Therefore, basically, in the writing, the structure is there, the tension is there, and one of the tricks that I learned over the time is never to end the scene with the end of the scene. I'm explaining. When you have a scene, don't finish the scene by an end. Finish by a question mark. Don't finish the scene. Therefore, you're suspended. What is going to happen? Because I haven't seen the end of the scene. Well, just wait. I will show it to you on purpose. I will put irrelevant things like the old lady with a cat or a general trapped in traffic jam, because they say, fuck, where are our heroes? Where are they? Well, just wait. So you know, the trick is in the writing. After that, we can improve it slightly. At the editing, with the editing, sometimes we would shift a scene, would say, well, you know, we understood too much what was going to happen, or on the contrary, we have to finish that scene because now we're done with those characters. But you know, one of the main trick of film is the writing. It's screenplay. After that, it's just, you just have to shoot it. It's very much like, it's why I love composers, because when they come in front of the orchestra, the symphony is written. You may change the hautboy for a bassoon, if you wish, but you cannot change the melody, you cannot change everything. Therefore, it has to be written. You can change the tempo. You know, it can be tung, 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 or tung, 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 or tung, okay, that's feasible. And that is what we do with the editing. So the balance of your scenes, I'm very careful to have a rather peaceful, long scene. On purpose, I would extend a scene. For instance, when they climb the stairs, it's very slow, it's long. The bottles, clunk, clunk. It's a bit long, but then I go to a scene very intense, very active, very much like in a concerto when you have adagio, and then allegro, and then largo. Again, you know, you change the rhythm. So that those are things that become, should I say, even something instinctive when you write a screenplay.
Another question? Yes, there's a gentleman here. Could you? Oh, sorry. Okay, one at the back first, and then we'll come down to you here.
I remember so well the day that Notre-Dame started burning. I remember it was such a pain in my heart. Like you, I was a student in Paris at the Sorbonne, like you, studying what you were studying. And it was the end of my youth, my discovery of France being such a wonderful country of French culture. It was the end of the first time I heard Pergolesi's Stabat Mater was in Notre-Dame. It was going to the organ concerts. It was the light on the facade. It was such an absolute pain. I don't think, and I'll ask you this, I don't think you have to be a believer. I don't think you have to be Catholic to feel that pain. And as a Londoner, and I love my city very much, and I'm proud of being a Londoner, I can't think of any building that I would feel that pain for if it was on fire here. I cannot feel it. And I wonder if you could perhaps talk about just the pain as a Parisian, as a Frenchman, as just that agony, that something that means so much, that is at the heart of Paris. And I think that did come through in the film, but there was something so deeply wounding, I think, when that day happened.
I didn't understand everything because the sound is not very good here. What was the last question?
The pain of being a Parisian and seeing that happening in Paris, the connection.
Well, you know, for some reason, as I think I started talking a little bit about that before the show, yes, I don't have faith. I don't believe in anything but cinema. But I admire people who have faith. I respect faith. And I've always been moved with temples of any religion. I remember my thrill when I was visiting the monasteries in Tibet. I had great relationship with the monks in Tibet, as I had a great relationship when I shot The Name of the Rose with my different consultants and the people I live with to get the feeling of what it was to be a monk. So I do have this respect, and for me, I didn't want to be too personal about that, but strangely enough, my childhood, I was the only child, and I spent my time taking pictures of churches and cathedrals. I have a huge collection of those pictures that I shot when I was 11, 12. My first little film in 8mm was about a church in Saint-Séverin, Saint-Savin, sorry, in the middle of France. So it's a paradox that I have no faith, but I have this emotion. And I like those places because they are beautiful, because they are a symbol of peace, a symbol of hope, and of course what appear to be the destruction of a symbol of not only Christianity, but of our world, the world we lived in for so long, was something that touched my heart. And you know, the cathedral itself took my heart, and the firemen as well. When I started meeting those people, I was flabbergasted, frankly. I didn't know that in our world today, my contemporaries were people who had a vocation to earn little money, but to feel good about what they were doing. Those people, every day in Paris, they save a dozen of lives. And they go home and they don't mention it. And they don't want to be called heroes. They say, this is my job and this is my vocation. And I realized that they were the same in Belgium, in Italy, in Portugal, in Spain, all those countries I visited with this movie. So that also felt good, you know. What felt good is that the cathedral is still standing. What felt very good is no one was hurt. No one, not even a big injury, nothing. And all the treasury, although, you know, in the cacophony and catastrophic kind of chaos that it was, everything has been saved. Not one thing has been lost. I can carry on with the crown. Not only they rescued the wrong crown at the beginning, not only I didn't know that the clergy had lied to so many visitors who were praying in front of a fake crown. We did the same. It cost us about £2, £2, sorry. It's just a wire with some spray for Christmas, you know. And this is, people paid a lot of money to pray in front of that fake. But after that, it carried on. I couldn't show it in the movie, but for 2 days, the police was standing in front of the fake that was left in the cathedral because the curators understood it had no value. And the true crown, who was costing, you know, that fortune, like it would be $1 trillion pounds for the budget of France, was unguarded in a cupboard in the underground of the Hôtel de Ville of Paris. So it carried on, you know, the mess was endless. Why am I telling all that?
Yeah, there was another question.
Just on a lighter note,
yeah.
I like the touches of humour that were in the film. For example, the problems with the Velin bicycle when he was trying to get back to the cathedral. But the thing I liked most was the super colossus, which they were all expecting to come and sort it out, and the build-up was great on that, and then the final thing that it fizzled out. Was Colossus real, or did you invent that for the purpose? So thank you very much. You know, when I heard about that Colossus, the general became a friend. Said, we were hoping that the Colossus was going to help us, and that was our last hope. And then I had heard about this phenomenal Colossus. And then one day I saw the Colossus. I thought it was the toy of the Colossus, not the real Colossus. It's a gag. And where I cheated a little bit, I must admit, they carry it in a truck, but I asked them to put it in a very large truck. And I dramatized a little bit the beep, 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 and then click, 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 click. Well, you know, ridiculous. I had the same laugh when I saw the real thing. And I remember I was with 2 firemen who had never seen the Colossus. So they were very proud, you know, they were proud Frenchmen. Look at this equipment we're going to have. Open. Oh, fuck. Is that the real thing? Yes. I must admit that this object is made for underground parking lots. And this is a machine that can go down staircases in, how do you call the road? En colimaçon. Right. And it has to be a small machine. Because if it's too big, if you have a Russian tank, it would do the same thing that it does, well, you know. Therefore, it would be unusable. You know, where can you use such a machine? Therefore, the creators of this machine that is sold, by the way, everywhere in the world. This little machine became so popular among firemen. But the creators named it Colossus because it has sort of powerful means, but it's in a way ridiculous, you know. And I'm happy that you shared those moments of. Sometimes I had the feeling that I was directing a slapstick comedy, you know. And but that also, when I learned everything what happened, I love the mixture of superhero movie, emotional movie with something spiritual in it, and the broad comedy of it. You know, we always, I'm sure all of you have attended painful moments where suddenly you start giggling, or you start losing your shoe, or you do stupid things. It's I don't like the movies that are monolithic. I like the same way I was answering about screenplay. If you do a screenplay that is monotone, it's drama after drama after drama, you don't have the time to breathe again. And when you have a moment of laughter, then it makes the pain. Lady was talking about the pain. It assuages the pain, and you can then go again into a drama, knowing that it's probably going to be a movie with a sort of happy ending. And this is what I like in that story, is, as a matter of fact, it is a happy story, because, you know, since this fire, the world sent money to rebuild the cathedral. They were short on money, and now they have the proper money to make it very beautiful and very strong.
Okay, I think that seems like a good place to stop. Please join me in thanking Jean-Jacques Annaud.
Merci. Merci beaucoup.